No, I'm kidding. But we got to be fearless when it comes to this stuff. With our government, with everything that's going on in the world right now, we are going to have to become more fearless as believers, and we're going to have to step out and do more. And in order to do that, there's one thing that I think we all need to do, and that's what I have prepared a message about today, and that's this: crossing the chicken line. Okay, it's time. We've got to cross the chicken line, because that's what it means to be fearless. Okay, what does that look like? Because our culture loves fearless people, don't we? And you guys remember the old show Fear Factor, and they're eating stuff and going through, they're laying in the coffin with the roaches all over them and stuff. Everybody would do that, right? Rats and roaches and all that, But then there's the crazy stunt people. Now, we like that. At least, come on, where's my guys? We like a good YouTube video, right? This crazy guy. Can't believe he did that. It's insane. Yeah, all right. Or there's the fails too, right? I think there's a fail army or something like that. We love watching those videos. But you know what? We want celebrities. We want daredevils. We want all that stuff in that shock and awe campaign, right? Girls, I know you like it too, okay? I just kind of keyed in on the guys, but girls, you love that stuff too. So I want to start off today with looking at a few of the craziest stunts that have ever been done to date, okay? Are you ready for this? All right, the first one is by a guy named Felix. It's a guy named Felix. His last name is Baumgartner, and he did a stratosphere jump. Okay, this guy literally did a skydive from space. I don't know how they got him up there. I think they flew him up in a capsule or something, and then he dove back to the earth from space and landed it, and he was a hero. Everybody knows who he is, right? No, okay. But there is somebody that I guarantee you that is like that, that's crazy and does all those stunts that you do know their name. His name, and we're going to say it in church, even though it's got the word evil in it, is Evel Knievel. Now, how many of you guys remember I had the wind-up Evel Knievel motorcycle guy, and the cord, you'd pull the cord, and then the motorcycle, and then you'd send him off the ramp, and he'd roll over, and everything, and it never broke. But see, the problem with the real Evel Knievel is he would break every time that he would roll over and fall and do all those things. But he was crazy. He was fearless. He would jump 12, 13, 14 Greyhound buses and do all of that stuff. But there's one guy that, to me, tops it all, okay? And you've probably never heard of him, or some of you may have. But his name is Luke Aikens, okay? Anybody ever heard of Luke Aikens? This guy did a 25,000-foot drop from an airplane with no parachute. Watch this video. Watch this. He's got no parachute on. He's just going to land. I don't think you can be more fearless than that, can you? I mean, that guy, yeah, that's the part where he goes, somebody get me a portalette. He actually jumped 25,000 feet with no parachute and landed in a net. I mean, come on, guys. That's fearless. When you talk about fearless, I mean, it takes guts to do something like that, doesn't it? Everybody say guts. Yeah, right. People a lot of times will risk their lives for the thrill of victory, for approval, and all of that. And I love that kind of stuff. I've done crazy things like that too. You know, I grew up in an old neighborhood, and back in the old neighborhood, there were these woods. You know, you guys, I know none of you young kids know about this, but how many of you older folks remember we'd actually go out and play in the woods? Right? You know, eat oranges because you're a Floridian. If you're a Floridian, you live on oranges over in the muck field, over where the rope swing was on the old oak tree down the path. Right? Well, there was this one spot that we would go to, and we were fearless back then. You know, when you're young and dumb, you realize that you bend, and now we realize that we break. Okay, so there was these vines that had grown all the way over these trees, and these vines were there, and I would climb up into the top of this tree, and about 20 feet down, the vines had grown over all the other trees, and I would dive out of this tree for about 20 feet, and I would hit these vines, and they would just catch you, just like that net caught Luke, right? And it would just, whoa, and it was like you were defying everything as a young kid, because 20 feet when you're, 10 years old, it's a lot. So, we would dive off of that thing, and the vines would catch you. Well, we did it so much, and so many of us in the old neighborhood would do it, that eventually we wore a little hole over into the middle of the side, over on one side, and so it got even riskier. You were like, wow, I'm fearless. Rawr! Well, in all of my fearlessness, I dove one time a little too far to the left, and I hit that hole in the vines, like right at the perfect spot, with my butt and my legs and my arms folded, and I went straight through that hole and dropped another 20 feet to the ground in the muck. So I'm laying there on the ground, and I wasn't feeling as fearless as I was before. And you know what my first statement was? They all came running out of the tree, had to climb out of the trees, and they were like, you okay, you okay? I'm like, go get my mom. True story. But you know what? There are things out there in our life that are scary. They're crazy. They're wild. And sometimes in your life, you're just going to have to do what? Cross the chicken line. You're going to have to step out. You're going to have to do something that's uncomfortable. You're going to have to put yourself in a situation like jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, knowing that there's a net waiting for you on the ground. What is that net? His name is Jesus. You see, God is with us everywhere that we go. Sometimes we just have to take a leap of faith. We have to step out there and just be who God's called us to be in those moments. Just like Luke Akins, we have to, and we have to just step out. And that's where we're at today, because we're coming into the Easter season, the holiday season, and I'm going to ask you as your pastor to step out and do a few crazy things today. Say crazy. All right, you all are looking like, I know him. I don't know what he's going to ask us to do. I'm a little nervous about this, but, just say to me this, but I'm scared. Some of us are scared. We all have fears that we need to overcome, don't we? Anybody not have something that they're afraid of that they need to overcome? You see, the Bible teaches us in 2 Timothy 1:7 this. It says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and what? Love and a sound mind, okay? Sound minds don't jump out of airplanes without parachutes, but we're going to just forget all about that for this moment. But you know what? Some of you are facing mountains and obstacles in your lives. Can anybody say amen? I mean, am I the only one that's, some of you are facing some financial obstacles, right? Some of you are facing some physical obstacles. You need healing in your body, or you're, like me. Last week, I could hardly get back up. I was doing an example of praying, and then I was stuck. And Usher had to come help me. But then there's mental. Sometimes we're having mental battles, mental struggles. We're just struggling that way, even emotionally. We're just in a battle constantly. and spiritually as well, but fear is real, right? Somebody say, yeah. Fear it's a real thing. You know, fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. You know, we all face it somewhere in life. So what do you think are the top 10 things that people are afraid of? I'm going to kind of go open forum. I know it's dangerous to do that in church. Actually, let the congregation talk. But, you know, I like doing that. It's risky, right? So top 10 fears of all time. All right, throw a few out. Let me hear them. Death. Okay, that's one. Rejection. Nobody got that first service, but yes, that is one of them. Public speaking. Yes, that's on the list. Snakes is not on the list, but I'm with you. I'm with you. What's that? The dark. Yes, the dark is on there. Fear of failure. That's one. You were in the first service. No, I'm kidding. Yours doesn't count? Yeah. What's that? Raising teenagers. Nope, not on the list, but very real. All right, so I'm going to go through the list real quick. That was good. Did you have one? What was it? Spiders. Yes, very good. That is actually number 9, okay, on the list. So number 1 is flying. Okay, not falling with style like we've shown you today, but actual flying. So the second was public speaking. That's my worst one. I'm afraid of that one. I'm like... Third one is heights. Anybody who's afraid of heights? Come on, you can be honest. Like, put you on the 50-foot. I'm like crazy when it comes to heights. I'll climb a 50-foot ladder. I'll be up there hanging out, you know, and just doing stuff. But other people are like, no. But here's the one. The number 4 was the dark. Who said the dark? Who was that one? Yeah, it was the dark, you know. I love that because, you know, I have my son Jacob. And, you know, I told him one time, hey, go. He was about, I don't know, he was little. I said, go take the garbage cans out to the road. The garbage men are coming tomorrow. He's like, could I just do it in the morning real early? I'm like, no, just go get it done. Get it done. And he's like, but it's dark. And I'm like, no, you're fine. Go get it, you know. And I'd forgotten, but one time when he was really little, I caught his 2 brothers. You know, I went in his room to see him, and he had the covers over his head, and he was shaking, you know, in the dark and everything. And I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? He's like, the whisperers are here. I'm like, what is that? Who are the whisperers? He's like, Justin and Jason told me the whisperers are going to get me. I like, let me go have a talk with your brothers, man. I was like, hey, come here, boys. Who are the whisperers? Oh, no. They knew they were in trouble, man. I was like, you know, we won't tell you what happened after that. Some people aren't up for that. And, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? No, no, I'm kidding. But, you know, so I said, go take the garbage cans out, man. He's like, you know, he grabs the garbage can. He's like, and then he's like, and he comes running back in, you know, and the whole way, you know, he's hearing like, cha, 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 cha. You know, it's like, dude, if you guys are going to watch all those movies, man, and you're afraid to go take the garbage cans to the road, you deserve it. But fear is real, man. He was serious. He's like, whew, whew. He was in and out. I've never seen anybody take the garbage cans out that fast before. He made it happen. But you know what? Fear is real, but it doesn't have to define us. You hear me, right? Fear does not have to define you in your life. You know, miracles and victories can happen if we can overcome fear, if we can cross that chicken line, if we can make that transition into where we trust God and believe God with all of our heart that He's there. He's that safety net, that He's going to back us up. You know, we can do incredible things. We can step out where we weren't able to step out before, you know. And look at Mark 9:23. Jesus said to him, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. What's your impossibility today? What's your impossibility, man? God's bigger. He's ready. He's ready to move. You know, let's look at a few different guys in Bible times, okay, real quick, that crossed the fear line, that chicken line, and did amazing things for God. Who would you guys think is let's go Old Testament. In the Old Testament, who do you think crossed the biggest chicken line that ever existed and saw one of the greatest victories in all of the Bible? Moses was one. He was one for sure. But David, that's right. David and Goliath, right? You guys ever heard of that story? David and Goliath? A few of you? You know, in 1 Samuel 17, 22 through 29 says, David left his supplies in the hand of the supply keeper, and he ran to the army, and he came and greeted his brothers. His dad had sent him to the battlefield to bring supplies. And then as he talked with them, there was this champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines, and he spoke according to the same words, and David heard these words. Listen to this. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were dreadfully afraid. Dreadfully afraid. So would you say they had fear? Okay, that's, I think they probably were suffering from the fear of potential flying, right? Public speaking. Heights, because he was so big, right? The dark, because he was going to knock them out. But think about this. So the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who's come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel, and it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and give his father's house exemption from taxes. That's huge. Right? Tax-free. That'll motivate a person. So David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, what shall be done for the man who kills this guy and takes away this reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Perspective. You see it, right? Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men, and his anger aroused against David, and he said, why did you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the insolence of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle. And David said, what have I done now? Is there not a cause? Is there not a cause? I want to challenge you with those words today. You see, there is a world outside these doors that needs to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. There is a cause. They need to know the truth. They need to know that healing is available for them. They need to know that deliverance is available for them. They need to know that God has given them victory in their lives. There is a cause, and David knew who he was. Do you hear me? He knew who he was. He was God's chosen man. Guess what? You're God's chosen man. You're God's chosen woman for this day, for this moment, for this time in the world. God is calling each one of you to cross that chicken line and to go face the giants of this world and to slay them. Say, where's my sword? Come on, say it. You see, the reason, though, is David knew who God was. It's not just knowing enough that God has chosen you. You got to know who the God is that's chosen you. Okay, so he didn't look at the obstacles in front of him, right? David looked at the reward. It's like, whoa, hey, wait, what's going to happen for the guy that kills this guy? No taxes? Yeah. You know, I get the king's daughter? Yeah. You know, I mean, he looked at the reward. He knew that Goliath would fall in God's hands, not in his, but in God's hands. He knew that enemy could be destroyed. And what is our common enemy today? It's the world trying to hide Jesus from people. The world is trying to hide Jesus so that people cannot get free. You see, the Bible says that, we'll know the truth, and the truth will what? Set us free. What is the truth? The truth is Jesus died for every one of us. to set us free. You see, David knew, just like the lion and the bear, that he defeated with his own hands, that God would destroy this Philistine giant the same way. So he was not afraid because God was with him. Remember that. David knew what to do: kill the giant. And there's some giants out there that we need to kill in our communities, in our government. We got to take care of this stuff. Say this: God is with me. Do you believe it? He is. David had a cause, and we have a cause: to set those who are lost free. Plain and simple. We have a job to do. We have to defeat the enemy of God. Moses did the same thing with Pharaoh. What a chicken line that must have been. Biggest guy in the world, the Pharaoh of pharaohs. And he actually was family, because Moses grew up in the palace. So now he's really kind of squaring off with family. Anybody ever had to cross the chicken line and square off with family? It's not fun, is it? But he had to cross that line because God had called him. What about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, man? Thrown into the fiery furnace. Why? Because they crossed the chicken line and said, "We will not bow to your ways." And what happened? What happened with Moses? God showed up, split the Red Sea, delivered them out of the promised land. What happened with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? It says the king looked into the fiery furnace, and there was 4 people instead of 3, and one looks like the Son of God. God showed up. That net is there, everybody. You don't have to be in fear in your life anymore because God has got your back. He's with you. He said he would supply all of your needs according to his riches and glory. He said he would set you free, deliver you. He'd give you all the wisdom you need, all the strength you need. Everything you need was given to you when Jesus cried out from that cross and said, "It is finished." He's not going to give you anything else. You've already got it. He's not going to give you anything else. You've just been kept in the dark. You don't understand what you already have in your life. And therefore, you are taking damage from the enemy because you need to recognize and know and understand what God has already done for you in your life. So what are we going to do? We got to cross the chicken line. Say it. Cross that chicken line. What does that mean? You got to believe God for the miraculous to begin to happen around you every day. You have the ability to see the miraculous happen around you every day of your life. Miracles, deliverance, power being released, the words of your mouth changing the course of people's lives and the direction of their lives. We have that ability. So what is your chicken line as a believer, as a Christian? I'm talking to the Christians in the room. So if you're not, you're off the hook. But we're coming for you at the end. So what is your chicken line as a believer? Is it sharing Christ with someone? Well, Pastor, I'm not really, that's not my thing. It's every believer's thing. You're not off the hook. You just haven't crossed the chicken line yet. Once you get one, it's like gas on the fire. It's like, what? I just prayed for them and they got healed. Maybe your chicken line's that headache. Anybody ever been around someone that's like, "Oh, I've got such a headache"? You realize that's a cue, right? That's a cue. That's the Holy Spirit just lobbed it to you. He's like, "Here, let me put this on the tee. Here's your bat. Okay, we're going to swing and we're going to hit the ball." You following me? People just randomly tell me the craziest things ever all the time. Why? Because I'm the guy that'll pray for them when they do. And they're telling you stuff too, and God's triggering those divine appointments all the time around you, but you're missing it. You're afraid. You're not crossing that chicken line. You're going, yeah, I heard that, but I don't know, man. Not me, not today. Not me, not today. No, it's you, and it's today. It's every day. God is calling us to cross that line and step into the miraculous power of God and to see miracles begin to happen around us each and every day. Every day. Not once a month. Every day. It's crazy. You know, praying for somebody with a headache. Maybe that's your chicken line. Maybe it's bringing somebody you know to church. Right? Bringing them, not like, hey, you should come to church sometime. No. Hey, I'm going to be by to get you at 8. Hop in, taking you to lunch after. Right? Maybe it's getting involved around here. There's this line, I don't know, Pastor, I don't know if I could teach kids. I don't know if I could hand out a bulletin to somebody. Oh, you mean I have to smile? No, Pastor, no. I don't think I could smile. I'm afraid. Simple. Right? What did I miss? There we go. All right, let's go back to, do you realize that, I got one more. I can't leave this one out. How about giving and tithing? There's a chicken line for you right there. It's like, ooh, it's coming from a wallet. You know, I've been tithing for 35 years, and God's done more with 90% of my income than I ever could have done with 100. You see the favor of God come onto your life. I have to say it. I have to testify because, you know what? I crossed that chicken line. It wasn't even a chicken line for me. I just like, hey, you're supposed to give. I was like, oh, okay. And I just started doing it. And the blessing of God came on my life so powerfully, I never looked back. But some of you need to cross that chicken line. You need to say, you know what? Generosity is going to be part of what my life is all about. I'm coming in. I'm coming into the kingdom. I'm coming into that in my life. You see, the biggest obstacle that we face isn't the devil. It's us. It's ourselves. So we've got to learn to cross that line and become who we're afraid to become so that the world might know Jesus. Let's reference back to the fears. Do you realize that 5 of the top 10 fears that I mentioned actually exist in sharing the gospel with somebody? It's not flying, but public speaking was number 2, right? See, sharing the gospel with somebody is speaking to them. It's public speaking in a way, even though it's one-on-one conversation, it's still making conversation. And then there's that the other one was intimacy. I don't know that I never finished the list, did I? I just looked at it. So hold on, we got to go back and do the list. No, I'm kidding. But number 1 was flying. Number 2 was public speaking. Number 3 was heights. Anybody afraid of heights? Then the dark, intimacy. I didn't do death or intimacy. I didn't do failure. I didn't do rejection. I didn't do spiders. I didn't do commitment. But 5 of those, public speaking, intimacy, failure, rejection, and commitment, are all included in sharing the gospel with somebody. Isn't that crazy? That we are so afraid to step out sometimes and share Jesus with somebody because why? They might reject us, that we might fail at our attempt to share Christ with somebody, that they may not allow us into their life and that intimacy thing, or even they may not make a commitment. And you know what? It's okay. You just have to do it. You know, Jesus preached in his own hometown and they rejected him. He went to his own town where he knew everybody. He knew everyone on the street. And when he started to preach, they're like, it's just the carpenter's son, Jesus. You know, his brother's right over there. His sisters are down the street working, doing this or doing that. And it says this in Mark 6. is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us? So they were offended at him because he's trying to share the truth with them. But Jesus said to them, a prophet's not without honor except in his own country, among his own relatives, and in his own house. So now he could do no mighty works there except that he laid hands on a few sick people and healed them. So Jesus said, they're going to reject you. They're going to struggle with you. But you've still got to do it. He didn't not do it. He stepped out. He crossed the chicken line in his own hometown in front of everybody that he knew, everybody he grew up with, and all of those people that were the most afraid to share the gospel with and invite to church and bring to church. And, he would, I don't know. You think he was afraid? I don't know. I don't think so, maybe, but because Jesus was, he was pretty cool. But I would be afraid, but I don't know. I don't think he was. I don't know. I say it this way, though. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. We say that around here. I even have a shirt that was made for me by people. It says, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. There's no surer way for you to fail than to never try. So all those people that aren't coming to church, that aren't coming to the Easter extravaganza, and that aren't going to make it to our Palm Sunday presentation are all going to miss out on that because you're too afraid to ask them. How's that for a straight, direct shot, right? So we've got to step it up. We've got to cross the chicken line and begin to make the ask. We've got to begin to make the priority people. 2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power and of love and a sound mind. Think about that. We have to step out and be bold. We need to be daredevils like Evel Knievel for God. We've got to get on our motorcycle and we got to jump those hurdles that life is presenting to us, and we've got to land it and give God the glory. We got to jump out of the plane and know that that net is there, that God's going to catch us. So what are some of the obstacles to sharing our faith? We got to find that coworker, that friend, and with the headache, we got to pray for them. Step out. There's nothing more amazing than when God shows up. But you got to take it. You got to get out there and you got to throw it. You got to lob yourself out there, and then God's got to show up. Anybody ever put yourself in a position where it's like, all right, God, you got to show up? And he always does. You see, I need you to go get them. I get as many as I can, but if we would all go and get them, you hear me? We can reach this community for the Lord. We can reach this city. We can reach this county. We can reach our nation for Jesus Christ. So you want to know how to do it? You want the secret weapon? Let me give you the secret weapon, all right? And then we'll go. Maybe. Hold on. We're about ready. Yeah. Secret weapon is located in Acts 4:13. Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated and untrained men, they marveled and they realized that they had been with Jesus. You see where I'm going, right? Say, some of us, we're uneducated, men and women. We don't have the boldness that we think we should have, but Peter found boldness. Where did he find it? These untrained men, people were marveling at them. Why? Because they had been with Jesus. If you're with Jesus, then you've got everything that you need. When he said it's finished, he gave it all to you. The only thing you need is to be with him in your life. Then you're fully equipped to go and be everything that God needs you to be out there. You just have to be with Jesus. I love Joyce Meyer. She says, do it afraid. Do it afraid. Step out. Be all that you can be in this world. Even if you're afraid, with fear on your cuffs, cross that chicken line knowing that Jesus is with you, that he is with you. This whole message is really a pep rally to get you to invite people to church for Easter if you haven't figured that out yet. Why hide it, right? You know, but I want you to watch this video that I did. It was done years ago, but it is not that hard to talk to people about God. I went out and just went to Cocoa Village with a big furry microphone about this long that looked like an animal, okay? And I literally stuck it in people's face and asked them about Jesus. And this is what they said. Watch this video. Hey, this is Pastor Kevin Radlin, and I'm down here in Cocoa Village. We're randomly just walking around. We're talking to people and just reaching out, and we're going to see what they have to say about sharing. We're going to ask them a few random questions that we've come up with and see what their answers are. So, hey, let's go. Hi, Brittany. How are you? Great. I just want to ask you a couple of questions today. First question is, has anyone ever shared the gospel with you?
No. I've been to church before, but no one personally has shared it to me.
All right, Robbie. Question number one, has anybody ever shared the gospel with you?
Oh, yes, sir.
Has anybody ever shared the gospel with you?
Yes.
I just want to ask you, has anybody ever shared the gospel with you?
Yes, they have. Yes, they have. I've had numerous of loved ones, even people that out in it don't even know. They done stepped to me, just felt the spirit and just came to talk to me and shared it with them.
Beverly, has anybody ever shared the gospel with you?
Yes.
Has anyone ever shared the gospel with you?
A little bit. My mom is pretty spiritual in that, so yeah.
Alyssa, has anyone ever shared the gospel with you?
No.
And Charles, has anyone ever shared the gospel with you?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Has anybody ever shared the gospel with you?
Yes.
Okay. And the second question is, if someone you know invited you to church, would you go or would you try it? Pay attention to this.
I would go. I would try it. I'm pretty open-minded, so.
Has anybody ever just come up to you randomly on the street, though, and shared the gospel with you?
No, not randomly off the street. It wasn't until about 5 years ago that I actually started getting the gospel in my life.
Anybody invited you to church, would you go?
Yes.
If somebody you know invited you to church, would you go and would you try it?
Yes, I would try it. I would take the time out to try it because I know it could be a insightful learning experience for me.
If somebody invited you to church, would you go and try it?
Yes.
Somebody invited you to church, would you try it?
Yes.
And Charles?
Yes.
If someone you know invited you to church, would you go or would you try it?
Absolutely. I would.
What would make you interested in going to church?
More of my family members.
Did anybody say no? It's pretty wild, wasn't it? I thought for sure somebody like, oh, heck no, I wouldn't go to church. But nobody said no. So what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? We have got an open field. Jesus said the harvest is white. They're ready. They're looking for someone to invite them to church. They're waiting for the invite, guys. They need to come be on the property. They need to come and be a part of what's happening here at Lighthouse Church and many other churches throughout the community. We, as the body of Christ, have got to step up our game. We got to cross that chicken line and we got to start bringing people into community with God and with us as believers. And then we got to love them. You know, it's as simple as a smile. So